7 new puzzles in the next Pelikan release, and in the next 8 minutes I will tell you a little bit more about each of them. It was really hard to choose which puzzle to show to you first, but I think that I'm gonna start with the Shoutout puzzle. It was designed by Asanori Yamamoto, and this puzzle will be available in 2 different wood combinations, Venge and Maple and Venge and Paduk. Venge is a dark color wood and it was used to make frames. Maple has a white color and Paduk has a red color. The goal of the puzzle is to fit all 6 exactly the same parts inside the frame. I will show you the parts now. They all look exactly the same. If you are watching my videos on a constant basis, you probably remember that I made the Shoutout puzzle using the laser cutter, and I was really impressed with the puzzle and how difficult it was. It is one of the most difficult puzzles from Asanori Yamamoto of this type. If you take a closer look at the frame, you will find that it has quite a large opening on these 3 sides and a little bit smaller opening, but also quite large on these 3 sides. And when you put everything inside, you're supposed to cover all gaps, which looks quite impossible. But it is possible, and when you put everything inside, you will see that all gaps will be covered and there will be no openings left, but it will be very difficult to find the correct solution. There will be about 80 copies of this puzzle available, so if you see one, buy it, don't hesitate, since you may lose a chance to buy an awesome puzzle. And since we are talking about Asanori Yamamoto, let's take a closer look at his second puzzle. It is called Slider 2. This puzzle was made using 2 different types of wood, Venge and Mahogany. Venge was used for the parts and Mahogany for the frame. This puzzle has 4 parts and a frame, and the goal is obviously to take it apart and then assemble it back together. Unlike the Shoutout puzzle, which comes disassembled and you have to figure out the way how to put parts inside, this puzzle comes assembled and you have to find a way how to take it apart and then put everything back inside. Quite a tricky puzzle, since there are a lot of moves here and it will be not so easy to find the correct ones in order to take it apart, and then it will be even more challenging to assemble everything back together. The next puzzle was designed by Alphonse Eichmanns, and the name of the puzzle is Nebulon. This puzzle was made using 2 different types of wood, Venge and Paduk. Venge was used for the frame and Paduk for the parts. This puzzle has quite unusual shape, since most of the puzzles of such type usually have a kind of symmetrical shape where each side looks like all other sides, but this one is different. We have 9 parts and they create this nice pattern on this side. If you flip it 180 degrees, you will find a similar pattern on this side, but if you rotate it to the right or to the left, we don't see a similar pattern, and we don't see it on this side or on this side. So it's quite unusual shape because of the frame, since the frame is kind of weird as well. I'll show you a photo of the frame so that you can understand what I'm talking about, and that makes this puzzle quite difficult to solve. It requires only 18 steps to remove the first piece, but actually it is quite difficult to do. And it will take you a lot of time before you will be able to take it apart, and then much more time to assemble everything back together. The next puzzle was also made from Paduk and Venge. Looks like Pelikan has too much of Paduk and Venge in their shop. The name of the puzzle is Ladybug, and it's Pelikan's own design. This puzzle has 10 parts, and it's a Kumiko style puzzle, where you have to take it apart and reassemble it again. Usually these puzzles are not very difficult to solve, but they are always very beautiful. We already saw a couple of other puzzles designed by Pelikan, such as the turtle, the snail, and now it's a ladybug. I think that if you're a fan of Pelikan and you already got 2 previous designs from Pelikan, you will want to buy this beautiful puzzle as well. And now we move to yet another amazing puzzle. I promise no more Paduk and Venge. The name of the puzzle is Dino. It was designed by Tetraflow. This puzzle will be available in 2 different wood combinations, either walnut and Venge or acacia and Venge. I know I promised no more Venge, but Venge actually was used just for the eyes of the dinosaur. This puzzle looks really interesting, since most of the puzzles of this kind, they have a regular boring parts, and when you put them inside, they are flush with the frame. But this one, take a look at it. It looks like a real dinosaur. There is a head, there is a tail, there are legs, and even tiny arms of the dinosaur. I don't even care if the puzzle is interesting to solve, if it is hard or easy. I just love how it looks. Just because of the look of the puzzle, I want to have it in my collection. The solution of this puzzle isn't really difficult. It requires 33 steps to take it apart and 33 more steps to assemble it back together, but those are not very difficult steps and anyone can solve the puzzle, even if you are a beginner. This puzzle has a shortcut though. It allows you to remove one of the parts by rotating it on early stages, but try to solve this puzzle without using this cheat code. Just take a look at this. Such a beautiful and unusual looking puzzle. And now we move to my favorite part, puzzles from Dr. Volker Latusek. The name of the first puzzle is Ode to the Bevel. This puzzle was made using two different types of wood, pink oak and garapa. The puzzle has quite a familiar look where we have a frame and parts that we have to pack inside the frame. Here we have 5 exactly the same beveled triangles, and the goal is to put them all inside below the lips of the frame so that none of the parts will stick out. As Dr. Volker Latusek said, this puzzle is supposed to be called Fermat for friends or just a puzzle for coffee table, since it's not a difficult puzzle, but if you're a beginner and you never solved puzzles from Dr. Volker Latusek, you will probably spend quite some time trying to figure out the solution. And now we move to my favorite puzzle of this release. It is called Tetraflow. It was designed by Dr. Volker Latusek. This puzzle was made using two different types of wood, babinga and elm. And if you take a closer look at the puzzle, you will find that the frame is full of parts and it seems like there is no space for the last piece, but you still have to figure out the way how to put it inside. This puzzle has 8 soma parts. I will remove them and show to you. Here are all parts of the Tetraflow puzzle, but the most exciting part is the frame, since we have 2 openings here, one on the front side and one on the back. And both openings, they have quite an odd size, since if you try to put the part inside, you will see that you can easily put a 1 voxel wide part inside, but it doesn't seem like you can squeeze another piece next to it. Since if you try to rotate this part, you won't be able to put it inside like that. But why do we have this weird opening here? You have to discover it by yourself. And if you take a closer look at the back side, you will find that there is another opening here, but it is not wide enough to fit the piece, as you can see. And that might give you a clue what you have to do in order to solve the puzzle. And now back to the parts. In order to put parts inside the frame, you have to make a 4x4x2 shape. There are many different variations how you can make this shape, probably more than 100 or maybe even 200 different solutions, but only one will work perfectly to put all parts inside. But even when you find the correct assembling, it will be still a challenge to figure out the way how to put parts inside. Even when you have the shape and you know that this shape fits inside, you still have to find the correct moves to put parts in, since some of the moves are very tricky. But so are most of the puzzles from Dr. Volker Latusek. They are always tricky and there is always something new. And now to the most important part, where and when you can buy the puzzles. They will be available at Pelikan's website starting from the 2nd of June at 10 AM Czech time. I will put a link to the Pelikan's website in the video description. Let me know in the comments which of these puzzles do you like and you wanna buy. I bet the Shoutout puzzle will be sold out first. Thank you for watching the video. See you in my next one.